It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
So, Bo, let's jump into these. Number one is roll in and roll out provisions. We've heard last year, 2021, was the year that more people resigned than I think any other time in history. It was the Great Resignation. We had 47.8 million workers quit their job in 2021. That also created a unique thing. There's a lot of money sitting out there, too, from all those company 401ks.
Yeah, if you look at it from people changing jobs in the United States presently, this is data from Capitalize, about 24 million forgotten 401ks exist out there. And forgotten 401ks mean it's a 401k that's left with a previous employer. Well, if you add up the total amount of assets contained inside those 24 million accounts, it's over $1.3 trillion of dollars that are sitting out there that likely are not being actively looked at, actively taken advantage of, and have basically been abandoned. If you want to have effective soldiers in your army of dollar bills, you cannot leave them left behind.
Now, look, leaving behind a 401k, that might not be the worst thing in the world, because maybe you worked for a great employer that has a great retirement plan. A lot of Fortune 500 companies, thinking about them, they have the Vanguards, the Fidelities, the Charles Schwabs, where they have lots of investment selections. They have low-cost investment selections, and there's lots of diversification options. That's probably okay if you left your plan behind, but
purpose.
That's not everybody what has happened here. There's a lot of plans that you'd probably do much better if you were proactive and knew if you either needed to move it to your new employer's plan, rolled it to an IRA, or you at least would have gone through the exercise and know leaving it is the right decision.
Yeah, one of the things we do when someone becomes a client of the firm, Abound Wealth, they'll come to us and we'll kind of look at all of their account structure. Well, it's not uncommon for us to see all of these old abandoned accounts, these 401ks and 403bs, and it's almost like a patchwork quilt of the life that they've lived up until this point. We can almost tell you their employment history for the last 2 decades just based on the accounts that they left behind. Oftentimes it makes sense to consolidate those and bring them in together into one plan, especially if you have a really good plan, like you said, with low cost options where you can roll those old 401ks into the new 401k.
One of the things I always like to say, if your current employer has a really good retirement plan, you might want to go bring those old plans into your new plan just to simplify your life.
Sure.
As you get older, you're going to find that you crave simplicity, and consolidating accounts is a great resource on that journey to simplification. And also, Bo, I want you to talk a little bit about, we talk about Roth conversion or backdoor Roth contributions for people who make too much money where you can't contribute to a Roth IRA because of those income limitations. This might be your gateway opportunity by rolling and making sure you are making use of these 401ks.
Yeah, a lot of times if you're trying to be if your income is above the level where you can do regular Roth contributions, you may want to do backdoor Roths. Well, one of the ways to make backdoor Roth contributions tax-free is to not have any outside IRA assets or old 401k assets. Maybe you had a 401k that you rolled into an IRA. If you have a really good current year plan and it allows roll-ins, which almost all plans do, you could conceivably roll your IRA rollover or your old SEP IRA or your old simple IRA into your 401k plan. So that way it opens up the ability for you to do tax-free backdoor Roth conversions every year.
So let's make sure, your homework when you're trying to close out this section is just make sure you're not leaving it behind any 401k assets or old employer plans that are not being optimized for your life. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Don't leave behind with this great resignation to where assets are just sitting stagnant, not getting re-diversified and working towards your ultimate financial goals.
Now, we talk a lot about rolling in. Another thing to keep in mind is that for most plans, you'll want to check your plan document to make sure this is true. Even if you roll assets in, you often have the ability to roll those assets out as well. So one of the problems with 401ks, if I'm currently working at a company, I can't move that to an IRA when I'm working there in most circumstances, unless part of my 401k balance is roll-in. So say you needed to open up a backdoor strategy for some reason. So you roll a large IRA rollover into your 401k, and then the law changes or your circumstances change. Or for some reason, you need to then roll your 401k assets in an IRA, or you need to have access to an individual retirement account. You can actually roll out, even if you're still working at that employer, those roll-in contributions back out. So it's not like a one-time irrevocable thing, so long as your plan provider plan document allows for that to be the case.